Hi everyone, so we're going to go through some very basic do's and don'ts. This is the second one in the series, and I thought it would be really helpful to go through some very basic do's and don'ts for small businesses. These are a bit more broad, but hopefully just as helpful. Anyways, let's get started. When someone is commissioning your business, please keep in mind that contact is going to be your best friend. Now, whether you prefer Telegram, email, Facebook Messenger, or what have you, please make sure that you have a system that works for you, is organized, and you do inform your customers of the best way to contact you. When customers have questions, issues, concerns, they need to have a centralized place to air their grievances and also to reach you in the event that something goes wrong. Now, email is usually the best way to do this because you have a record of everything with timestamps. Now, why are timestamps important? Timestamps are important because should they have an issue, you have a written record of all communication and you're able to more easily organize and determine exactly how to handle it. Knowing when someone messaged you about an issue is crucial. If you leave someone hanging for a month, that's not good. If you leave someone hanging for a few weeks, it's not great, but it's not the worst thing. And if you leave them hanging for a day, then you can kind of push back and understandably tell them, like, look, it's been like 3 days. So having a main centralized contact point is really, really great. And some great services for this are Gmail. I love and swear by Gmail to the day I die. It has timestamps and dates on it, so it's really, really helpful. And it's great for labels and keeping yourself organized. And it also ties into the full Google suite of docs and forms and presentations, which you may not use that much depending on what you need it for, and it's a great solution for that. Please keep in mind that if you can't contact someone immediately, if you do use certain services with autoresponders, I know Gmail does have it, Facebook pages for business also have it. If you know you're going to go on vacation, make sure you set up an autoresponder so people messaging you know that you are not able to get their email right away. This is crucial. If someone is coming to you asking 20 questions and they don't see a response and there is no communication from you, that's not generally good. If you know you're going to be out of office, not able to come to the phone, or what have you, make sure you make that very, very clear with autoresponders. They're very, very easy to use. They come with most email services. And if you're on Telegram and you know you can't respond and that one customer really likes to message you on Telegram, it doesn't hurt to change your name on Telegram to say like currently away or at this con or not reachable or, please contact me after such and such a date, basically because you won't be available at that date and time. So keeping constant contact and having a good contact source is a great way to manage customers. Now, despite what you may think, the devil is in the details. When you're emailing customers and you make spelling mistakes, this can set a very bad example. If you misspell their name, their character's name, the species, multiple words in a sentence, it does make you look ultimately less professional, and it does make them a little more hesitant to trust you on things. Why is this? So when you make spelling mistakes, it can, unfortunately, make you look either uneducated, amateur. There's a whole host of assumptions that can be made there. But if you are actively spell checking your work for correct grammar, and trying to communicate as concisely and clearly as possible, it can only help your business. Now, understandably, typos are made. It's a fact of life. But if you see that you have misspelled a customer's name or made some typos in the email, it is not a bad thing to email them back with 2 asterisks and a small correction. This tells the customer that you understand that you goofed up and it does matter to you, and that you are, being proactive in your communication. And it may seem as dumb as misspelling the word there or using the wrong there, or just basic misspells. anytime someone reads a sentence with clearly misspelled words, that is an immediate trigger for anyone, especially if they've had middle, high school, college, graduate school education. They're gonna notice it, especially if it's someone who's in a professional field. If they're used to spell checking their own work and they see that you're not spell checking your work, it does send a signal that you don't really care about your communications and you're kind of blasé about the way you handle them. It's unfortunate, and understandably, you may occasionally spell a few things wrong, but ensuring that you either correct it or make a note to yourself to always check your work will ensure that your communication remains professional and that those that look to you for services feel a little more at ease with your professionalism and your ability to take things very seriously and act in a professional manner. Terms of service. So with the terms of service, you do want to be extremely careful. If you have your terms of service listed on your fur affinity, on your website, and on multiple places, that might not be enough. Anytime you have an incoming customer, you want to ensure that they have read the terms of service. If you have a website where it is not listed and they do not usually use fur affinity, there is a good chance they're not going to see it. So what are some ways you can combat this? One way that I had suggested in the previous video is if you use Google Forms, you can actually build your terms of service into the form, essentially forcing them to read it. Now, if you do not use Google Forms, which I really suggest that you do, you can also ensure that it's on every single property that you own, that it's on your website, that it's on your fur affinity, that it's on everything that has your business's name attached. Understandably, on Twitter, this may not be as possible, but if you're going to link your website on your Twitter, on your Instagram, on your Facebook, make sure the terms of service is very visible. If you have to bold it, if you have to add 50 different asterisks, if you have to say, please read TOS and link it, just do it. I know it's a pain in the butt, but understandably with our community, there's a lot of newer kids on the block. There's a lot of younger furries. They're not really trained to do that. If you've never made a big purchase before, you're not as likely to look for it. So with your terms of service, make sure it's very easy to find. Additionally, make sure it's very easy to read. Being very explicit is great. It does help you a lot. But make sure it's also well broken up so that they can actually navigate it fairly easily. If they need to go and refer to a section on your pricing, your shipping, your payment plans, your refund situations, make sure it's easy for them to find it. Break it up into smaller, easier to digest paragraphs. This just makes it so much easier for the customer, and it's so much easier for you because then they're not asking you dumb questions that you just don't want to answer because it's in your TOS. So doing that does help a lot. Additionally, anytime you have a new customer and you've started using email as your primary communication, it does not hurt to attach your TOS to the initial email so that you can always let them know that it's there. If they lose it or forget it, reattach it. It might be a pain in the bum, but just do it. It does a lot of good, and if there is some confusion on your TOS and someone doesn't understand what a certain paragraph is referring to, what it means, or how it impacts their commission, just calmly explain it. Being nice and professional and open with your customers is just so much more helpful. And if there's something that they didn't realize when they ordered and now they're midway through ordering and they kind of forgot to read it, just calmly reiterate what they may have missed, forgotten, or just never read in the first place, and things should go a little bit more smoothly. TOS are great to have, and they do help you run your business, but making sure that people know what the heck is going on also helps your business, so make sure your TOS is very easy to navigate. So we talked about contact and making sure that people have your email or whatever you use as primary communication, but let's talk about communication itself. Now, when you're interacting with a business of any kind, you want to make sure that you come off very professional. Even if you're just a 18-year-old starting out and stitching stuff in your mom's basement, establishing that professionalism early on does a lot of good in the long run. People start to trust you, people start to expect what you're going to do, and they have an understanding of how your business operates. Now, communication can be helpful and it can also be hurtful. If you have a customer that really likes to talk, just be aware that it's okay to tell them that, they can only use your email for professional communication, and if they want to have banter, they can do it on your Telegram. Don't be afraid to tell people that you're busy. You can't answer them at the moment, and you're kind of busy. And don't be afraid to tell people that what they're sending you is inappropriate. If you feel that someone is taking advantage of the fact that they are commissioning you to send you things that you just genuinely don't care about, it's okay to push back and tell them that you would rather use this line of communication for professional interaction. Additionally, making sure that communication is prompt is very helpful. Don't leave your customers waiting for more than a couple days. And like I said in email, if you have an autoresponder option for when you can't get to emails, that helps a lot. Just make sure that your communication is very, very clear, very concise, very easy to read, and very easy to navigate, so that there will be less questions, which means less emails for you and a lot more time to use for your actual commissions. I don't know much. Now, being able to market yourself as a newer or younger maker is very key. There's a few ways you can do this, which are pretty good. If you're an artist or a fursuit maker, working with more high-profile clients can be very helpful, but honestly, the best way to market yourself is by putting out great products and getting yourself a profile on social media. If you have social media across all platforms, you have every furry covered. Some use Twitter, some use Instagram, some use Facebook, some use Amino, some use For Affinity. Some still use DeviantArt for whatever reason. Making sure that you are present on all of the dominant platforms is really great because it makes sure that you have coverage across all and you can essentially catch people's attention on all of them. If you're going to communicate on those platforms, make sure the page that you use for your business is not directly tied to your personal social media. Now, what do I mean by that? If you have a personal account that you like to tweet about and maybe tweet some articles that are a little edgy, make sure that that's distanced from your actual business. If you're going to be tweeting pictures of your products and such and using your main profile for that, I would highly dissuade you from that. Make sure all of your entities across social media are specifically for your business. Post pictures of your work, post picture of completed work, post updates of when commission slots open. Just use it for that. If you want to retweet this on your personal, that's great. If you want to repost it on your personal, even better. If you want to hype it on your personal Instagram and link back to your professional company's Instagram, great. But as much as you can, try to keep a separation between church and state, because if you have a few racy opinions that you happen to tweet on your personal, and that's also what you use for your professional, it could dissuade potential customers. Finally, escalation. What is escalation? So if you're not from kind of a corporate tier background like I am, escalation may sound like a really weird word. But escalation essentially exists when there's a problem. Something goes wrong, something does not go to plan, something is delayed, something just doesn't get paid off. Escalating that is crucial. So how do you handle escalations? So let's go through a scenario, shall we? Say your customer orders this big, huge, intense order that has so many parts and the materials are so expensive, and then they never pay you. So the way that you escalate this is very critical. If you go about it in an accusatory manner and attacking them personally and using all of your free time to go for them, it's not going to end very well. Manage it professionally. If you have to address the issue because a beware has been put out, do it as politely and professionally as you possibly can. This will do so much for your business, and it will only help. It'll only help in the long run, and eventually, when you are more established, having a record of handling and escalating things professionally will be a great asset to future customers because they kind of know what to expect. If you see that someone's having an issue paying or can't pay or just has refused to pay, rather than blasting them on your Facebook or Twitter, message them, flag it as an issue, and if they do not comply, just handle it as quietly and professionally as possible. And if they decide to go on a tirade on social media, just put out a very factual, neutral post. So let's do an example. Let's say Abby has ordered a bird fursuit head, and her head is worth about $600, and she has paid you $200 of it, and all of a sudden she just stops paying. Obviously you don't know why, but she stopped paying you. So you message her asking for the rest of the money, no response. You give her another email that tells her she has a month to pay or her commission will be terminated and she'll be refunded the amount sans the security deposit or whatever your company has. And then 4 months later, Abby makes a beware on a prominent Facebook group, basically saying that, you never delivered your product, you're such a terrible person to work with, and you were lied to, and, your mom was in the hospital, or her mom was in the hospital, and she couldn't pay it, and her phone had been disconnected, and how unfair. How do you handle that? So, first of all, you can comment back to Ms. Abby and inform her that you were not aware of the situation, you are extremely sorry, you hadn't heard back from her and had assumed that, she would like to terminate her commission, but understanding that extenuating circumstances had arisen, you would like to work with her to a peaceful resolution. Now, using that kind of language really flexes your professional muscles and makes it look like you do genuinely care, even if maybe you don't. So doing that can essentially level a customer and make them feel more at ease. Now, let's say Abby's not going to have it. And, she continues to say, well, you didn't give me the time of day, and I remember sending you a message on Telegram, no. So if they start to use quotes about you that just factually aren't true, like, them sending messages to you on Telegram when you just didn't get them, feel free to screenshot the last communication you had with them and say, I'm sorry, I don't think your message went through all the way. I don't happen to have it here, and I'm really sorry. Would you mind emailing me personally and we can resolve this, one-to-one? Doing that does not basically point the finger at them being a big, fat, nanny-boo-boo liar, but it also kind of gives them the chance to check themselves before they wreck themselves. If after that they want to keep tirading, ignore it. You've done all you can do. If you refunded them, you're out of the woods. And, if all that they're saying is a bunch of huge, big, flunking lies, just let the thread tear them to shreds. You as a business do not have to get yourself involved. And after you've done all that you can do in escalation, just back away from the problem and focus on your current commissioners who love and want your work. Hear what I hear. So yeah, here are some basic do's and don'ts for you guys to use for your small businesses, whether you're a maker, an artist, what have you. I hope these are super, super helpful and, help you only better your small business. If you ever have questions, please leave them down in the comments. I'd be happy to answer them for you. But at any rate, I hope this has been helpful. Have a lovely, lovely day, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!